Some West Virginia protesters grabbed their paddles and made their way over to Senator Joe Manchin's boat to let him know they're not on board with how he's blocking President Biden's agenda.
Senator Manchin!
Senator Manchin!
Your constituents are here!
Your constituents are here!
Your constituents are here from West Virginia!
Your constituents are here from West Virginia!
Will you please come talk to us?
What are you going to do for the poor in West Virginia?
We're going to be working everything we can to create good opportunities.
And we need to tax the rich.
Well, I agree with that.
Almost heaven indeed. Joining me now, editor-at-large for the Daily Beast, Molly Jong-Fast, and White House correspondent for Reuters, Jeff Mason. Thanks so much, guys, for being with me. Molly, the Democratic Party sure isn't the love boat these days.
No, I mean, there's a lot of conflict, but this is legislation. And you'll remember in the Trump administration, every week was infrastructure week. And yet he never passed any infrastructure. So, I mean, it's complicated and there's a lot of moving parts, but they're actually doing what we sent them there to do.
It's sort of feeling like Infrastructure Week is every week now, though, as well. And eventually it'll have to stop being Infrastructure Week because they're going to have to vote on something eventually. Jeff, Joe Manchin has said what his top line figure would be for this bill. One of the key holdouts, Kyrsten Sinema, the senator from Arizona, she has not made clear where she stands. That has progressives fuming. Let's take a look.
Senator Sinema is being treated like a head of state. I never requested or met with the president in the Oval Office. I meet with his staff. She meets with him like every other day, and then she has a whole presidential delegation. Ricchetti and Susan Rice all go to her office.
Come to my district. Have Kyrsten Sinema come to my district and meet with my folks in St. Louis. Have her come and meet with those that sleep on the street. She has her own story that I feel like she's forgotten.
When you say that progressives are frustrated when they don't know where you are.
Well, actually, this weekend, the New York Times was reporting she's back in Arizona holding a fundraiser. Jeff, you were with the president today. You saw that reaction that he gave to the cameras where he talked about two people.
Yeah.
What are they thinking over at the White House? Do they know where Kyrsten Sinema stands?
Well, they have been very careful when they talk about Senator Sinema, and they've said that she's been negotiating in good faith, and they're trying to negotiate in good faith back. I think they're also realizing that it's not going to help their cause, and it's not going to help hers if they start bad-mouthing her in Congress, or in public. But as those clips just showed, you know, there is some bad feeling in the Democratic Party, for sure. And the White House says it's not frustrated. President Biden said this morning he's not frustrated, but
I'm not at the White House anymore, Jeff.
But, you know,
I think I can hear a little grumbling. I think I can hear just a little.
I mean, it's hard to believe there isn't some frustration on that side of Pennsylvania Avenue.
And Molly, Senator Ted Cruz got a lot of attention this week getting to the COVID crisis in this country, tweeting his solidarity with NBA players who don't want to get the vaccine. He even used the hashtag, your body, your choice. Even though he's from a state with the most restrictive abortion law in the country. I guess this is trolling. This is what he does now. What is your reaction to that?
I think the lesson that Ted Cruz got from Trumpism is to be even worse and to be even more Ted Cruz-y. And you'll remember that Al Franken called him a fish microwaver. So I think he's really leaning into that role as just being a troll. And I think, you know, Texas has this crazy restrictive abortion ruling. You have women all over the country today marching in solidarity. You have a Supreme Court that's as unpopular as it's been since 2000. And, you know, you have Ted Cruz, you know, teasing us about it. So I think it's a really tough situation for a lot of women. And I think Ted Cruz is just hoping to sort of like, you know, continue in this Trumpy trolling way.
Yeah. And Jeff, on the subject, podcaster Joe Rogan made this bizarre claim. He suggested that President Biden got a fake COVID booster shot on TV. Here was his rationale. Let's take a listen.
Do you think he got a booster? He was a real booster?
Yeah, you mentioned that before we started talking, and I hadn't thought about it before. But you know what? When I watched it on TV, when I watched him getting his shot, his mask on, all I could think of was this is performance art. So the next step of performance art would be like not giving them the booster, but just giving them a shot. Right?
I think if they were gonna give him a booster shot, the last thing they would do is give it to him live on television. What if he dies?
Right.
What if he blacks out? What if he like gets it and faints? Like, because people have had very bad reactions, like in the moment for whatever reason.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, Jeff, you cover the White House. I have covered the White House. The thought that, I mean, that they would give the President of the United States a fake booster. I mean, I hate bringing this stuff up, but Rogan has so many listeners out there that I think it's worth a fact check.
It is worth a fact check, but it's so obvious it's almost kind of ridiculous to be talking about. But the fact is it was a real booster shot, and also his logic is sort of strange. President Biden wants people to get booster shots. He's also in that age group where it's time for him to get a booster shot, and so he got one. Of course he got one. And he wants people to see that on live television, and he wants people to see that he's okay, and he was okay. And this is a huge challenge that he's facing, is to get people vaccinated. Of course, that wasn't something that they would be faking on, and that's not what this White House does.
But this has been one of the problems, one of the challenges that the Biden administration has struggled with, Molly, throughout their time managing this pandemic. Getting on top of COVID disinformation, that kind of garbage that you just heard from Joe Rogan there. It is so pernicious, and then we can write it off and say, oh, this is just some guy with a podcast, and what's the big deal, and he's a comedian, and it's dangerous. It's just so dangerous.
It's so dangerous, and Joe Rogan is not some guy. He has millions and millions of rabid fans who listen to everything he says. And, you know, you'll remember, I mean, he is actually probably one of the leading sources of this kind of disinformation. And he was, a couple weeks ago when he got COVID, he got the monoclonal antibodies, but he also took the horse dewormer that you can use for lice, ivermectin. And, you know, and he spread a lot of disinformation. And it's really tragic. And we still have people in the South dying at large numbers because they refuse to take the vaccine. And, you know, I think that it's because people like Joe Rogan see these anti-vaxxers as easy mark. And he knows, and they're sort of passionate, and they're looking for a champion. And he knows it'll help ratings, but ultimately it will kill people. I mean, not getting vaccinated leads to higher levels of death with this virus, and it's really tragic.
It is. It's just so dangerous, and you just wish you would knock it off. It's not worth it. It's not worth the numbers, the data, whatever the metrics that they get podcasters. It's just not worth it. Please stop. All right, Molly Jong-Fast, Jeff Mason, thanks so much. We appreciate it. Coming up, Britney Spears' father has been booted as her conservator, but the battle to have control of her life is far from over. We'll discuss what happens next. Plus, an all-new season of This Is Life. Lisa Ling explores historical events that changed America but rarely found in history books. Catch the season premiere of This Is Life with Lisa Ling Sunday, October 10th, only on CNN.